Any questions?
All right, Gideon Osei, please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Gideon, I see a hand.
All right. So, good evening, everyone from Ghana. And Mr. Christopher, thank you very much for the nice presentations that you've given us on leadership. I truly admire your courage and your ability to serve your community and all that. And so I'm also deeply inspired by what you've also given us tonight. And I'm also currently leading community initiatives in Ghana here, where I've decided to volunteer my time, my energy, and my resources in underserved community in the Western North region of Ghana. That's Lead for Ghana. So we support educational initiatives, and we shift the mindset of students to position them well, to see themselves as not just limit themselves on the current circumstance that they find themselves. And so it's sometimes a challenge. I mean, when you come to some of these underserved communities, because they don't see the need why young people should challenge the status quos of whatever thing that is going on in the community. So, as an experienced person, my question is, how can young people, decide to build such influence with authoritative leaders who are the top, so that they can also buy into your ideas to cause the change that you want to happen in such communities? Yeah,
That's
thank you very much.
great question. Great question. You start with the ones that are available. You start with sometimes we think that we have to start these missions and these community-minded activities, and that you think that 100 people is going to. I'd rather have 2 people that are committed to the cause than I have 100 people that I can't gauge their commitment or faithfulness. So sometimes it's starting small. When we started with the open mic, it started with 3 of us. And to this day, in our leadership team, these young people that started with me in their teenagers are now in their adults. They're full adults. They're like in their late 20s now. And they're like in mid 20s, late 20s. And now they're adults and they're still serving the vision and they're empowering people as you go. Again, the proof of your empowerment is in the proof of the young people that are being empowered. Your testimonial is the proof that the young people that you have, if you got 3 people and you change their life, that needs to be, they'll see that. And people will see the results and the consistency. And they're going to be attracted to that. That's why when you're doing the standard, and the reason why you want, like I was playing in the beginning, but I wasn't playing again about time. Time is very important. And I know we talk about African time, but time is very important. And when you understand the value of time and that you can't get that back, when someone is late to your appointment, you have wasted time that person can't get back. So when something starts, you can't say, well, we're going to sit there and commit to that stereotype, because not all Africans start late. There are Africans that start on time. We can choose to do that. Now, when we did that, and I'm going to tell you, because it's naturally like that with everybody. When we started our open mic night, I told them, I said, whether we are, I don't care if it's just one person in that audience, we start at 7 o'clock. And what happened was, but it's just one person. No, that one person had came through obstacles to get there, to be there, right? So what we did was we created a culture that started on time. And then what happened was, because we started on time every time, people started to come early because they didn't want to miss out. Because by the time they got in there and we were already in there, they're like, ooh, I missed some juicy fruits. I don't want to miss that. You create an expectation and you create something where people are now expectating what you're going to do because you've consistently done it. So consistently showing up, consistently pouring into those young people. And then what people are going to see is the maturation of the young people that you have impacted. That's going to be what they're going to see. The fruit is the people that you've impacted and the culture that you've established. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, Mr. Chris, that was helpful, and I think it's based on the answer that you gave me has also brought another question in mind. So amidst of starting with exactly what you have maybe within the communities, some of these leaders within such communities, they are very difficult. They are not all that receptive.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you go in, for them to even accept you, sometimes become a challenge. How do you cope in such situations?
Well, again, you need to understand your value as a leader and understand that rejection is not a negative thing. There are some rooms that you're trying to get in that you're not supposed to be in. Stop forcing yourself to be in rooms that you're not supposed to be in. How I believe is your gift will make way for you and put you into rooms of influence. So when you are functioning in your gift, I don't want someone who's tied to me that's tying to me and they're not supposed to be tied to me. Do they meet that symbiotic relationship? Do they have the heart to serve the community the way I do? Right? So I'm not trying to get everybody. I know that I'm not for everybody. And if that leader rejects me, then I'm not being rejected. We're just not a fit. And I'm glad that we realized that we're not a fit up front, then us to partner, and then find out that we're not a fit. And again, now money's involved, and now we find out that we're not a fit. And now we got to divorce ourselves of our resources and our times. So again, if you are consistently showing the values, to consistently showing up, you will attract the right people. Don't be so hungry that you'll accept everybody.
All right. Thank you very much for all the clarifications. I think it answered the question straight. So thank you
Oh,
very much. I'm blessed this evening on this webinar.
great questions, Gideon. Thank you for asking. Ghana's one of my places I want to come to too. So we got Ghana and Nigeria. Let me know other countries represented.
All right. We have some comments in the chat session.
Mhm.
Alasia Stephen said, if it's okay to test my aha was looking at relationship as symbiotic and parasitic. And there's another comment. It's a feedback from Irene Imokude. She said, does the leader ask for feedback or are followers to automatically give feedback?
That's a good question. I think that that it's a double-edged sword because feedback is a double-edged sword. I think you should make a culture, create a culture in an environment where feedback is accepted. But as a leader, feedback doesn't mean I'm going to do what you're telling me that you want to see done. Feedback is letting them know that their voice is being heard and what they are saying is being considered, but it is not saying that I have to do what you are asking me to do. What feedback does is creates a two-way conversation, but in the end, as a leader, it is your responsibility to make that final decision. And it's and you can do that in voicing that in such a way that it doesn't sound combative. So hey, we have an open door policy. We want you to be able to share some of those things. And then when they speak to you, say, listen, from what I heard, you said this was the issue that you're hearing, and I wanted to make sure that you were heard. Okay. We are going to do our best to make sure that we can address it, but I want to make sure that we're realistic in our expectations. What did I do? I just made sure that they understood that they were heard, they were valued, and I'm trying to make sure that we can create a course to address it. But I'm not going to promise that everything that they bring to my table, I'm going to do. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Christopher. So it's question and answer session. If you have comments, feedback, or there's anything you want to be clarified on, please, this is the time to ask.
Yeah, I love question and answers because again, I gave you a lot of information. So, and again, you like I said, I want you to start thinking about where you fit in. Did someone here, like out of the visionary, revolutionary, evolutionary community, put in the chat which leadership style resonates with you? Because one of the things that you have to learn is the self-awareness part of the leadership is realizing that, okay, I fit in this with all the goodness and the setbacks, right? But then we also need to make sure that we can make room for the other leaders. Because the purpose is that all 5 of these leaders are supposed to be functioning in our community together. And we need to function like this because we're no good like this. The impact is no good when we're separated. When we come together, that's where the power is. But we also have to remember this, that because we fall into these different categories, that everybody's not going to see with your eyes. That's why it's so important to honor and respect the other modes that you see there, because they have a place and they may be the very person that's supposed to be covering your blind spot. All right, if there's no more questions, I turn it back into the hands of Esther. Thank you very much, Africa. My heart is with you, the different countries that are there. And this is me sowing into you that one day we will be able to see each other face to face. I'm looking forward to that day.
All right.
Question.
There's a question from Obasi Blessing. She said, my question is how to get a mentor as an adult caregiver. I have been advertising on social media until I gave up.
My heart goes to you because I was a caregiver for my mother and my father, and my wife was a caregiver for her mother and her father, and it is a tremendous break. There are I don't know about you in America, we have social groups that are advocates for that, and those are great groups to be a part of, like NAMI. Is for people with mental illness, caregivers that I was dealing with, and they showed us that, but I don't know if that's for United States, but in your area, they have the same issues where they're advocating programs that are out there. There are meetup groups and networking groups, social media groups. Go on Facebook and start a caregiving group where you can get accountability and share resources. And if you find out that there's not enough voices that are available to do that, it may be God positioning you to be a voice and to advocate for other caregivers. That's one of the reasons why I love talking, is when I start talking and sharing in spaces about my caregiving journey and my mourning and being able to deal with the transition after my caregiving assignment was over, the more I talked about it, the more other caregivers were gravitated towards me and sharing that. And we ended up building a community. So if the community is non-existent, it may be positioning for you to be a mission-minded leader to start a caregiving group in your country. And that one little chance of finding that there was a missing space may create an opportunity now you have a development. Now you have an organization. Now you have wealth and resources that are coming to you because you decided to step up and be a voice for caregiving. Because again, nobody can really talk to a caregiver unless you've done it. So you know where this conversation may lead you. You may end up starting a whole entire advocacy program just because your testimony is, this is what I dealt with. I had to deal with family that tried to come in and do what they couldn't do. I had to think about everybody when the person passed away, everybody wanted to have a say. But nobody wanted to have a say when I was doing the work, So as a caregiver, you see that, right? But when you start sharing that, other people start to hear that and they're drawn to that. And that might be your vision of change, but there are people out there. So Google networking groups, Google advocacy groups for caregivers, and it might not be in your country, but by you connecting with that person in another country, they may be giving you resources that you can be the voice in Africa. Time out for letting other people speak for you. I need you people in this room to become the voices in your own country.
Okay, Blessing Obasi, you can unmute and speak. We want to hear your voice, not just your text. Not just your text. We want to hear your voice.
Okay. Good evening,